You're listening to On the Couch with Dr. Michelle, right here on LA Talk Radio.
And you are officially on the couch, as you always are on Tuesdays here on LA Talk Radio, about noon time, Pacific Coast, and wherever you are in the world joining us. Welcome to the couch. And I'm Dr. Michelle Cohen, as mentioned, and as always, I have a great guest today. And she's going to help inspire you, women, young women, and men in your lives, figuring out a lot of things, resolving a lot of issues in your life that you may be experiencing, especially right now and over the past year and a half through the pandemic. But the book really focuses on Patricia's healing journey. So welcome to the couch, Patricia. So nice to have you here.
Well, thank you very much. It's being on the couch is quite comfortable.
Good. I'm so glad. I'm really glad. Most folks say that, so that's great. I say most.
I know, right?
All right.
You know what? Everybody's different, right? We're all
You
different.
got that
we
right.
all do different things. So, and every couch is
Yep.
different. That's why there's so many out there.
That's right, honey. That's it. So we're talking about Patricia's latest book, and I'm going to hold it up right now. Seen and Unheard. All right. This is the important part of the book, and we're going to talk about why Patricia has been seen and unheard. And yet, it's about a little girl's journey from silence to empowerment. So let me just kind of introduce you a little bit, give you some props here. So they know that you are the best-selling author of this book. It's an amazing book. It's a wonderful read, and it's a therapeutic book as well. I love books like yours because they tell the journey, but they also give tidbits and thoughtfulness about how to kind of change up your life, empower yourselves, and move on. You are a women's empowerment coach and also certified professional coach, practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming. That's amazing work, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Good for you. I mean, it really is. Also, emotional freedom technique. Yay! Love that emotional freedom technique. The EFT, it's all about the brain, baby. And by combining these practices along with her own personal experience in overcoming real life challenges and trauma, Patricia has spent the last couple of decades inspiring and empowering women and girls, and not to throw in men as well, who have really learned a lot from this book, to overcome challenges and trauma, and, empowering everyone to use their voice for good. And we're going to hear about Patricia's journey, how she felt sort of silenced and misunderstood, as most of us have growing up, right? And how she was able to use those experiences in order to I can't get it out today, in order to fuel her inner fire and make a positive difference in the world around her. And also we're going to talk about her mission to help others, which we all need some kind of purpose in our lives. It's called Healing Hoodies. I love that. That's so cool. So welcome to the couch here, and thank you again. Oh, so much for writing this book.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Thank you.
When I think about the people I speak to each day, my patients, and I hear these same stories over and over, as you do, I know, about trauma, about overcoming trauma, and the things that we hang on to and are, as you use the word, which I love to use, imprinted in our brains from when we are young.
Yes.
And the messages we receive about ourselves through our caregivers, mom, dad, whoever's raising us, and also our friends, and the messages we receive from life. Gosh, I mean, it's so heavy to carry these burdens. So.
You know what? It can be very, very heavy. And especially when you're going through it, and especially when you don't understand it.
Right.
And
exactly.
I think that's the hardest part is, that people talk about it all the time. And even when you're in it and people are talking about it, you don't realize you're in it.
Right. No, it's so true. You're like, oh, wait a minute. Because
what are you talking about? You can't be talking about me.
Right. You're right. Like that line. You talking about me?
Exactly. Right. So it's an interesting topic, and it's one that we constantly have to go over and over and over again to remind people that first off, they're not alone in this. They're not
Gosh.
alone in feeling
Yeah.
unheard
Yeah.
or any of that.
Yeah. It's so true. So I always ask all of my guests and specialists like yourself and authors, what was the motivating factor that said, Patricia, you got to write this book. You got to get it out there, girl.
That's pretty much it. I got to get it out there, girl.
Okay.
Honestly, this book has been on my mind for a long time. And well, when I say long time, obviously I wasn't thinking about necessarily writing a book in my younger years, but since I went through all this, and in the 50s, I
Sure.
went through this in my 50s. This wasn't
Wow.
any
Yeah.
change that I
Yeah.
came around in my
Yeah.
20s and 30s.
Yeah.
So it's only been about 12, 15 years. And so it's for some people that might be a lifetime, but it's really, as we mature, that's not that much of a lifetime. It was just a short period of time ago. But
Yes.
I needed to have that last exhale, you might call.
Right.
And to just say, you know what? I'm still holding on to bits and pieces of this stuff because, as a
Sure.
coach, as a person who and helps other women,
Yeah.
I'm still on my journey. And I
I
will be on
know.
my journey forever. I don't want anybody to
Right.
think that's, hey, she's a coach now, she's best-selling author, she's moving forward. I
Yeah.
am moving forward,
Yeah.
but there's always challenges.
There are. I mean,
And so, so for me, it was important to get it out there. And I got to tell you, when the editor said, "Okay, we're done," and I'm like, "Okay," it goes, "Well, now what happens?" It goes to publishing, and I'm like, "Okay, so is there a button that gets pushed or something?" And that was quite scary because
Sure.
literally I was putting myself out there for people
Yeah.
to see friends who didn't know.
Sure. Exactly. No, isn't that interesting too? And
Yeah.
when you write such a profound book, people go, What? Patricia, you're always so
Yeah,
bubbly and out there and happy and what?
well,
You
that's
had this
called
book?"
in part of the book, that was what?
Yeah.
Fake it till you make it,
That's right, girl. You fake it till you make
You
it.
make it, and,
Yeah.
is that the right thing? I would
Yeah.
say no. Sometimes you have to do certain things, but we have to
Sure.
know what we're doing within so
Yeah.
that we don't, like I did, where I just took everything and all my feelings and stuffed them in my bag.
Sure you did.
And,
Yeah.
carried
Yeah.
that bag around with me, and then
Right.
eventually that bag just explodes if you don't acknowledge your own, your feelings about things and
Yeah.
understand them, but
It's really true.
it sometimes takes something major, unfortunately, to make you wanna change your life.
Yeah, it
Um,
really does.
a lot of people, it's a death of a family member or parent or divorce or sickness,
Yeah.
major traumas. But, and for me, a lot of those things kind of all came together in a head.
Exactly.
So I had
Right.
like 2 or 3 or 4 things happen to me at once.
You sure
But
did.
I know, right? But,
Right.
you feel for some of these people that it's resilient. You have to go through some of these things. And
Oof.
people don't always understand that you think you have this perfect life and everything, but something's gonna happen.
Right.
Something's gonna
Oh, sure.
and I don't want it to say like, hey, it is just life.
Right.
Nobody wants to put
It
anything on
is.
anybody. I would never want anything to happen, but unfortunately, life happens.
Exactly.
And you've got to
It
be either
does.
prepared for it or at least have some
Yep.
tools that and usually that only comes with unfortunately experience and going through stuff
Yep.
and
It
getting
really
through those.
does.
And that makes your
Yeah.
life like, okay, how do I get around this? How can
Yes.
I grow? How can I be
Yes.
better? How can I,
Yeah. Yeah.
and these days with the mind fitness, I call it, it's so important to really imprint, as you might say, like I said, on your own mind what you can do and really learn about who you are,
Right.
because
Exactly.
that's going to help you
Whew.
maneuver,
Right.
navigate through all the crap that gets thrown.
Right. Exactly. So
Yeah.
learning, beautifully said, Patricia. Thank you for that. So, learning about who we are, at the very beginning, you sort of described as you were young, feeling powerless and voiceless and unimportant. as a
Yeah.
child. So just so people can really understand your
Mhm.
backstory,
Yeah.
can you share a little bit about how those feelings emerged within you, what you had to experience?
Sure. And interesting enough, as a child, we have to remember we just learn what we live. So we don't always understand that that's not maybe normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. No. Right.
So, at the time when I'm very young, and let me go, I'm just prefacing that, I didn't really know all this stuff. Like my mom was an alcoholic
Mm. Yeah.
and who was really always trying to plan her drinking thing, which again, I find this out later. Okay. But
Right.
she was planning her drinking, like, and
Right.
so she would try to get rid of me so she could enjoy
Oh,
her
okay.
drinking
Right.
and do
Right.
stuff
Right.
like, "Well,
Right.
you
Sure. Yep.
go play with your friends." And when I even, when I got older, go take the car, usually kids have to beg for the car. I was like, no, don't take the car,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And my
Sure.
father was a salesperson, so he was never around. He was on the
Right.
road all the time. Plus, he was
Oh.
very unemotional, and
Right.
it's from that era. But you
Sure.
know, when you look back, everything like it's like anything, like, oh, now I see
Yes,
if you
exactly.
allow yourself. But at the
Right. Right.
time, all I wanted was daddy's love. And
Of course.
I couldn't get daddy's love.
Right.
He wasn't a hugger. He was a good lecturer,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Right.
Um, but just to give the listeners an example of what I mean by unemotional, he would actually write his birthday cards out to me. Happy birthday, Mr. Jack M. Love.
What? Oh, wow. Well, I guess.
It was always a professional.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Well,
you learn, you think, oh, okay, that's kind of, and I thought, well, it's kind of interesting. I thought you were my dad, but until
right.
you see other families, which is what in the book,
Right.
I note that until
Right.
you see how other families react, you kind of
Right.
think that's very normal.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely, you
and
do.
I
Yes,
was,
exactly.
as I was growing up, and especially in my teens, and when I could have the car, I
Yeah.
was like, a hit because
Oh, yeah, I
I could
bet.
always do anything. I never got grounded. I
That's
could go all
right.
these places, so I could pick up all my girlfriends.
That's
So
it.
all those things that made me feel good.
Yeah, you were rocking that Mustang, girl,
I was rocking it at that time. Needless to say that I did not understand how it was affecting me
Right.
internally. And then as
Right.
you go into young adulthood,
Sure.
it affects how you deal with life with outside the family
Yes. Yes,
anymore.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
you
yeah.
had to kind of mold your ways of thinking. You had in order to, please daddy all the time. So,
Well,
we talk
I was
about molding and sort of kind of going with the flow and just learning.
I learned as a
Yeah.
sales I learned he was in sales, right? So I
Yes, yes,
understood
yes.
that very young because
Yeah.
actually I read one of his books and I was fascinated, which I picked up at a young age, Think and Grow Rich. And I love that book still today.
Yeah.
I love all those inspirational type of things.
Sure. No.
But I learned that, okay, if I can learn to negotiate with him, then maybe
Aha.
he'll love me.
Right. That's right.
So
That's
that's what
exactly
we do
right.
as kids, trying to get
Sure.
any way we could. He was also really good at buying me things, and that's the way he
Oh.
showed me his love as I really
Oh,
realized it
that
later
was
in
his
life.
love language, was giving,
His was,
buying, and
"Let me
yeah.
buy you a car. Let
Yeah,
me buy you
wow.
something. Let me
Yeah.
send you we'll go on a trip to Hawaii." And yet it's funny because he was more of a show off. He didn't really have
Yeah.
that much money, but he would always spend it, and I learned to do exactly the same thing.
Wow. Interesting stuff.
And so
Yes.
I was always trying to buy love.
Yes, you
With
were. Oh
with
my god. Yes.
husbands, and I
Yes.
thought, well, if I buy something and, they'll know I love them.
Mm.
Well, that
Yes.
didn't work because I was divorced twice and, went through
Oh,
relationships.
well, you have to go through it, right? You have to learn,
But that's
right?
how you kind of learn
Yeah,
through these
exactly.
things. But yeah,
Sure.
that's how it worked. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, honey, and
Yeah.
so, and you talk about how really after those experiences, just sort of looking back and understanding how we molded ourselves and how we had to kind of understand our own identity by rolling with who they were and sort of fake it till you make it,
Mhm.
learning how to negotiate that to get the attention we all need.
Mhm.
But you talk about how we really need to go through that acknowledging our inner self, which is
Yeah.
so important,
Yeah,
and
and that's
looking within. Yeah.
Interesting enough, though, I didn't really figure that out, like I said, till my 50s.
Well, right. And
You know?
hey, you know what?
And I'm
Whatever
hoping
time.
I could help younger people
Sure.
do it sooner. But again, it's all the willingness and wanting to
Exactly.
and understanding.
Exactly.
And
Right.
some people will get it and some people won't. And some
Well,
people have to,
exactly. Some people
some people
will.
have to go through
Yeah.
that stuff to
Sure.
get to the other side.
Yeah.
And I
Exactly.
don't think as I look back and everybody says this, I wouldn't change anything.
Yes.
It's just how it was.
Yes,
And
exactly.
'cause everybody has their own story.
They do.
They think that they're less than so many people,
Right. Right.
and they think that everybody else's life is better. Everybody thought my life was fabulous, and on the outside my life was fabulous. I was making
Right.
money, I was
Sure.
spending money, I looked happy and positive, but then I'd go home and cry or be miserable.
Oh, of
And
course.
this is what people do, and especially today in the social media
Yes.
age,
Yes. Yeah.
of women comparing themselves, and social
Oh my
media just
gosh.
bombarding them with
Yeah.
beauty and
Yeah.
filters to
Yeah.
take
Oh,
away
yeah.
the pimple and to take away this.
Right.
It's devastating.
It really is.
And until you can acknowledge this, and here's the thing: is I find the hardest thing to do is
Uh-huh.
acknowledging your own truth,
Right. That is really
acknowledging your own negatives,
well,
because
right. Yeah. To dig down.
because we don't want to
Right.
think that we're not perfect, right? Even though
Sure. Of
there's no
course.
such thing as
Right.
perfection.
That's really true.
We
Yes.
we are
Yes.
always people strive for it, but it's a thing that you're striving for that will never actually happen. Now, doing your best, okay, I can
Right.
totally understand that.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
acknowledging the fact that I was, and this is again in my 50s,
Right. Right.
acknowledging the fact that I maybe wasn't so good at with money.
Yeah.
I was made a lot of money, spent a lot of money, and when the real estate market went down, because I've been in real estate
Right.
also for a long time,
Right.
I was at the bottom part of that. I'd
Right.
spent the money, and then I was $140,000 in debt.
There you go.
My
Right.
husband had left, my mom had died,
Yeah.
and drinking too much, doing everything that I shouldn't be doing. And I
Sure.
really had to acknowledge the fact that, well, you know what, Patricia, you might be drinking a little bit too much.
Yeah.
Or maybe you played a little part in those divorces.
Yeah.
Maybe
Oh,
you
yeah.
need to be, maybe you
Right.
need to look at yourself. What
Yeah.
are you doing? Rather than saying, well, it couldn't be me. It got to
Right.
be him.
Exactly. Exactly. That's right. And that's, what we do a lot of times. And, to your point, sort of back here to social media, it is so tough on, especially, I think, young women, because, that perfectionistic display that everyone puts out on their own personal PR, social media is so hard to compete. There's a competition energy with these young people. And I say that, because we've been there and done that. We're
Absolutely.
past that. We don't have to
Yeah.
sort of
I mean, I guess
prove.
that's one thing
Yeah.
about lessons learned, wisdom earned.
Yeah. No, thank you. Exactly. Perfectly said. But I think you're right. It's really, really important to acknowledge and get to our own point. And that's part of our own journey, getting to that point, no matter how long it takes us to say, wait a minute. Oh, it takes two to tango.
It,
Maybe
it
I really shared a part in that
sharing
particular
parts
issue.
of things, acknowledging that that
Right.
and also learning to listen
Right.
rather than talking all the time.
Right.
And
Oh,
as I mentioned before, and I saw too that it's getting off that daily hamster wheel.
oh gosh. Yes.
That it's right now is even worse than it ever was, because of you got to post every day, you got to do a reel every day, you got to do this every day, you got to look perfect every day, and if you're on that hamster wheel every single day, all the time, and always thinking about what you going to post next or whatever to make that money, to be that perfect,
Right.
you can never take the time to find out who you are,
Yes.
because you
Exactly.
need to get off the hamster wheel.
Right.
And that's the
Right.
hardest part for people,
Mm,
is pausing. But I try to explain it to them like this, is like, when people work out, especially right now, young people are always there trying to work out, and they get
Yeah.
their muscles, they hurt their
Sure.
muscles, right? And their muscles are
Right.
hurt, so they feel
Right.
like they got to relax. Their
That's right.
coach will say you got to relax
Right.
that muscle, or
Right. Right.
they make them relax because it hurts, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Use muscles you weren't supposed to use.
Exactly.
Well, the brain muscle is exactly the same,
It is.
but
Yes.
we don't think about the brain muscle
Right.
the same
Right.
way. And if
Exactly.
we don't relax it and let it get rid of a lot of the stuff that you just put it into it. It just
Yes.
overloads.
Yes, it
And
does.
that's where your overwhelmness comes. That's where
Right.
your anxiety comes.
Mm.
That's when all of the stuff comes to you when, you don't realize that, you think, well, oh, okay, I'll just go get a massage. That may help for a moment.
Right.
But you've got to step off and take the time daily, just like you would exercise daily, to relax your mind every
Right.
single day. And so, because
Exactly.
I find now that and let me tell you, and everybody says,
Yeah.
because, well, it's so hard to relax your mind. I said, yeah, at first it's hard to do anything, right?
Well, yeah, sure.
The first 2 minutes you're fidgeting and you're doing this and you're doing
Right,
that.
right,
You
right.
can't do it. But after a while, you're like, oh, wait a minute. I think I want to get 5 more minutes. What if I can do this? I need 5 more.
Exactly.
So pretty soon you start enjoying it. And
Yes.
that's where the clarity works. And
Right.
focus comes in. It's like, I can tell you, so many people or clients of mine have said, do you know when I find the most exciting times and when I really focus? And I go, when? You go, in the shower.
In the shower. Yes.
Because we don't have anything else to do.
That's right. And we're experiencing that sensation of the warm water on our bodies. And there's
Relaxing.
no one to look at except the tile or the marble or whatever
Exactly.
and
You get
it's
the
just
best ideas that pop up,
it's
and that's when you
true.
want to write them all down.
Right. And there's also theories about, you're in that space and, energy being like 3 meters out from other people. You're isolated from other people in that little square.
Exactly.
So you're not getting that.
Exactly. And so I try to like have people like, yes, see, now you want to do more of that. You want to take longer showers. You want
Yes.
to take more stuff because that's the way you want to feel every day. And at nighttime, when you step off that
Exactly.
hamster wheel, because the
Right.
energy you're going to get when you do
Yes.
that is going to be so
Yes.
much more. And
God, it
so
is.
acknowledging that and realizing
Mhm.
that and getting off that hamster wheel is critical
Woo.
to mind fitness. It's critical.
Yes.
And I had to learn that the hard way, just like everybody else. And I'm
Sure.
still constantly learning it.
Right.
Sometimes I have to say to myself, oh, Patricia, I see a little hamster wheel going there. You jump off, do a pause. So we're always having to, check ourselves, you might say.
We really are. And it's important. And saying something like, ooh, did I come off strange or was I being too paranoid or too angry and all those things? Those are good things to self-question,
You have
I
to
think that's
question all
important.
of that. I go through everything every day. I do my 5, I have those 5 words, which I came up with and I use all the time, which you started with, which is acknowledgement, forgiveness, mindset, accountability and perseverance and gratitude at the very end. But those 5 words I actually go through every day. Like, okay, what did I acknowledge today?
Right.
Do I need to forgive somebody? Do I need to forgive myself? Did I not give myself enough grace?
Right.
Where was my
Exactly.
mindset today? Was I overactive? Did I take some time? Did I do something? Did I have some accountability? Did I check off those lists? Did I actually do what I said I was going to do? And then also, did I take that step forward, persevere a little bit? Didn't have to go 10 steps,
Exactly. No,
And
exactly.
I go through those things every day, every evening, and it puts me in check.
Yes, it does. And so you just sort of check those things off. And I know, we of course discussed the acknowledgement and sort of I always talk about the importance of forgiveness.
Yes.
And that's to self and others.
Yes.
I just was turning a couple of patients on to the Ho'oponopono self-forgiveness work, this week. I went, oh yeah, that's there. That's all right. But I loved what you were talking about when you share the importance of forgiveness. So could you elaborate on that a little?
And some people will say, well, how do you forgive when you just hate somebody so much, or they did this to me?
Right.
And I'm like, you know what? You're not, I always say to them, you're forgiving for yourself.
Yes.
And you're not forgetting.
Right.
You're forgiving for yourself because as talked about in the book, I had some sexual traumas. I was raped twice in my early 20s.
So sorry.
And one I did know, it was an ex-boyfriend and he threw me in a hospital, but one person I didn't know.
Oh, I know.
And so I needed to forgive them. First off, I have no idea where they're at. No, and don't really care, obviously.
Right.
But but I needed to forgive them in order to take my energy back, because I
Right.
was using so much energy of
Right.
of
Right.
hate and
Of
anger.
course.
Like, if you hadn't done this,
Right.
then I
Right.
wouldn't be this way,
Right.
or I wouldn't have to be going through this, or you made me
Yes.
feel not trustworthy or not trustful
Yes.
anymore.
Right.
But instead I took it and said, look it, and I'm not really religious, I'm more spiritual,
Yes.
but what I did say, and I went through and I made a list, and I even put my dad down there, my mother, because,
Sure.
and
Sure.
I said to each one of them, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do."
That's it. That's
And
right.
they have their own stories. They
Sure
have
they do.
the guy that raped me, I don't know if he had been raped, and I don't
Right.
know, again, we learn what we
Uh,
live, right?
yes,
You
exactly.
know?
It's so true. Uh,
And so we don't know their stories.
right.
And so
Right.
without I can't judge them,
Right. Right.
but I can forgive them for not understanding or not knowing, but I will take my power back and not be
Mm.
angry at them anymore. So I can take that
Right.
anger and
Right.
place it into some positive energy. Now,
Right.
I'll never forget, and I
Sure.
will also be very careful about what I do next, and
Right. Right.
who maybe I associate
Well,
with,
yes.
and being smart about it.
Right.
Um, but
Exactly.
even
But
friends, if because sometimes they don't even know what they do.
no, they don't. Many they just don't. And we're, based on our own, inner feelings about ourselves. Sometimes we,
Well, we
here it
don't
comes,
also give them a
project
chance.
our own,
Well, we don't even
yeah,
give them a
yeah,
chance to do
right.
it, or they don't give us a chance, because
Yeah.
we don't want to be vulnerable, right? So we don't want to
Nope.
tell anybody
Right.
about our dark areas in our life. And
Sure. Sure.
if we do, sometimes we get shut down a little bit. So we hold that
Sure.
in.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So those people that have
Yeah.
stories behind,
Yeah.
that have done things for people or to people, we don't know where their darkness is.
Right. We don't.
But here's the sad part,
Mm.
is that we don't always allow them to talk about their darkness either. And I'm
Yeah,
talking
it's
about
really
friends.
true. Yeah,
I
it's
just had a
true.
client of mine say to me, I wanted to be vulnerable with a friend of mine. And all she could say was, "Oh, just chin up, suck it up and do this.
Yeah.
And you can do this." And she says, that wasn't
Mm.
the point. The point was, I felt like I wanted to be vulnerable. I didn't want to complain. I just wanted to share that I don't feel
Right.
good right now. My feelings
Yeah.
aren't good right now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
maybe that friend just saying, "I'm so sorry you're going through this.
Right.
Is there
Exactly.
something I can do to support?" Rather
Sure.
than saying, "Get over it,"
Yeah,
which is what
right,
most people
exactly.
do.
And she couldn't maybe deal with it because of her own stuff. It was too close to
And
her
that's
as
what we
well.
talked about, is that,
Yeah.
this may
Yeah.
be too close. She didn't wanna go there because she has her own story,
Sure
and that
she
might bring up
does.
her own triggers.
Exactly.
So we've gotta
But
learn to listen and understand.
yes, it's so true, Patricia. In case you just tuned in, guys, here you're on the couch with Dr. Michelle Cohen and my special guest today, Patricia Love. And she has her own practice and she is amazing and the author of a wonderful book that is really empowering for young women, women of all ages, men as well, so you can understand your beginnings and how to deal with some of those traumatic experiences you've had and some of those imprints you've bought into about who you are and your identity, and you're still going through it no matter what age. By the way, the book is called Seen and Unheard: A Little Girl's Journey from Silence to Empowerment. Here we are. Check
Yes.
it out. We're going to tell you how you can find out more about Patricia and pick up her book at the end of the show. It's an amazing read, and it's really helpful too, because I love, the little reflections you have at the end of each chapter that you
Yeah.
describe, so we can, little workbook here too, so you can think about things and work
Yeah,
on your
because,
own stuff.
even though it's a memoir,
Yes.
and they're my stories, I've found from a
Mm.
lot of people, men
Sure.
and women, who have
Yeah.
contacted me and
Yeah.
said, "You know what? That story reminded me of something
Yes.
that, I went through, and now
Yes.
maybe how I can react differently to it, or how I can change my behavior in it." So, so it was very helpful for a lot of people. They said it because, even like I said, it's my
Mm.
stories, but it could be a story about your spouse or your partner or anybody. It can be
Yes.
anybody's story, but they don't
Right.
always talk about it.
That's
So, yeah,
so
so it
true.
may trigger something
Exactly.
else in them. So,
Right.
yeah,
And I love the idea too of not only forgiving others, as we were talking about, but forgiving yourself for
absolutely.
doing things that you regret now, but you didn't know any better at the time,
Well,
as
and
well as,
yeah,
when you say they know not what they did, our parents or
right.
whoever made us feel insecure or bad about ourselves. Same thing with us. We know not what we
We
did. I mean,
we don't know. We were
duh.
young. We did crazy things. I mean,
Yeah,
I did some crazy things.
yeah,
When I had to acknowledge everything my negatives, it was a
yeah,
very long list.
yeah. I know.
The good thing is that when I check myself every day now, the list is sometimes not there, or maybe it's a very short
Yay.
list, you know.
Oh, that's
But you have
great.
to go through this negative because guess what? We're not perfect. We're
Yes.
imperfectly perfect, which is the beauty of this. And I really try to let people know you must give yourself some grace.
Yes.
And give other people grace because so
Yes.
many people are just going through what they
Uh,
know what to go through. They don't always know how to navigate through things. And they're learning also.
yes.
And we have to try and be more we have to be kinder to people.
Yes.
Because we just don't always know what the
Right.
situation is. And
Right. It's so true, honey. We just don't.
yeah.
And and again, we have to examine ourselves, I think, and say,
Yeah.
where's that coming from? That
Well, you
weird
know what?
vibe I have towards someone,
Yeah,
and
and if
they,
you
they didn't do
examine
anything.
yourself, if you
Right.
examine yourself and
Yeah.
stop being judging yourself, you will have a
Yes.
tendency not to want to judge others.
It's so true. My
Yeah.
goodness.
So we
And
have to
speak
learn from ourselves.
We do. And well, to your point there, you talk about your inner journey. Once you acknowledged your faults and really forgave the people that you felt had hurt you, then you said the negative energy released and your mindset began to shift. So
Yes.
can you talk a little bit about that mindset that just kind of was
Sure.
shifting into
Yeah. Absolutely. It's amazing when you release, especially when you forgive. And my gosh, so that's why it's number two
yeah.
on my list is
Oh God,
when
yeah.
you forgive others and forgive yourself. And it won't be a perfectly forgiveness because there's always every once in a while you fall back. I mean, because we're human again, we're normal. But when you forgive, there's like a bricks that come off of you,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you can start to see the world with a different lens. When I have
Mm.
one of my most favorite quotes is Wayne Dyer. He's got,
Yay.
but one of my most favorite is when you change the way you look at things, the
Mm.
things you look at change. And at
Hmm.
first, I had trouble kind of really, breaking that
Yeah.
down a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But once I got it, it was like if I can change my way of my thinking more in a positive way, more in a kinder way, more in a non-judgmental way. So I did it in that way as far as it shifting, trying to shift how I
Mm.
was thinking step by step, not like overnight because it doesn't happen overnight and it's a
Sure.
constant journey.
Sure. Of
But
course it is.
changing the way I looked at things and literally saying to myself when something came up, how can I look at this differently?
Yes.
Am I looking at this differently? Am I
Yes.
looking at it with just one lens or can I put on
Right.
another lens? Let
Right.
me see before got all crazy and like anxiety driven type of thing.
Right,
Because
right.
we cause a lot of our anxiety ourselves
Sure we do.
because we put ourselves in these situations rather than saying, wait a minute, okay, is this totally out of my control? Sometimes it's yes. If it's not out of my control, is what are my options? What can I do? What can I think about? How can I look at this differently?
Right.
Those little things I said to myself started shifting my mindset ever so slightly.
Yes.
And that's when they stick, is when they start shifting slightly and you start
Yes.
acknowledging that and moving forward. And I tried to begin listening better
Yes. Yes.
to
And you're
others.
listening to your inner self and you're really working.
Yes,
Yeah. And
listening to
you're
yourself and
becoming
to others.
more
Yeah,
right. Oh, yes. So you
yeah,
become more like the observer
yes.
and rather than the feeler. So it's not filtering through the ego process, that ego of,
Right,
well, how's this
absolutely.
going to affect me? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
so you're
because
an observer
and the
like,
more I would
oh,
listen
interesting. Yeah.
well, the more I would listen to others, and again, I was constantly
Yeah.
listening to myself and hearing like or because we say things to our inner self all the time, right?
Yes.
And I,
Right.
I'll catch myself and go,
Yeah.
"Well, you just said can't do. You stop that." Or like, "What do you mean
Right.
you can't do something?"
Right.
Let's rethink that. So I check but I also listen to others and what they're saying, and I don't try
Mm.
to change it. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to
Yeah.
interfere with their
Right,
lives.
right.
Because some people want to change, yeah, you shouldn't think that way or you shouldn't be. I
Right.
wanted to just be an observer and try and understand. And it pretty soon it was kind of like, huh, I kind of get it now. I'm seeing where they're coming from or where they maybe shouldn't be coming
Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
But it's now my choice to, decide how I want to live my life, with these
Yes.
people or without these people.
Yes. Yeah. No, right. And that's sort of being a mindful person and sort of saying, how can this situation that I'm in serve me better to be a
Exactly.
higher person, a higher vibing or a more loving or giving and
Oh, and getting rid of the
yeah.
dramas. There was a lot of
Yeah. Oh
drama
my goodness.
that was
Yeah.
going on that when you're in it, again, when you're in things,
Right. Right.
you don't even know you're in them
Right.
sometimes until
Right.
you take a step out or off that hamster
Yes.
wheel, right?
Yes.
And
Exactly.
so, when I was listening more to people, I was like, whoa, there's a lot of drama happening. Do
Yes.
I want to be
Yes.
involved in this kind of drama?
Right.
Do
Right.
I need to step back? Sometimes
Mhm.
they're family members and you can't always go away
Mm-mm.
completely, but sometimes you can
Mm-mm.
take a step back.
That's right.
And not
Right.
be around it all the time because the negative energy
Mm.
just grabs onto you and then you have to shake it off as much as
Right.
you're going home, you're
Yeah.
like, why am I so miserable? Why am I so
Right.
unhappy? Why am I
Right.
so down? When in reality, you just came off a rock and roll drama,
That's
exercise.
right. That's right. You need to you need to come home and get rid of that energy
You
and
need to
take
take
a
a shower.
shower and think about, okay, I'm going to calm down and breathe now in the shower.
Exactly. And that's
Yeah.
just being more intuitive with
Sure.
yourself
Right.
and other
Exactly.
people. And I find that the more I have done that, the more peace I have within.
Oh gosh. Yeah. It's so true.
Yeah.
Now, in your other, steps, you talk about accountability,
Yes.
and you needed to be accountable to yourself. And that is all part of, observing some of the mm, dysfunction and drama around us. I'm trying to find the
Right.
right word. I was going to
Right.
say psychopathology, but that's pretty, now that's dramatic, right?
That's dramatic, but that's okay.
But I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah,
like we have to step back and sort of look at how, I mean, do you think we attract that into our lives?
absolutely.
Okay.
What
So
we resist, we
right.
persist. Carl Jung
Love
said
that.
that. I mean, that's it.
Yes, he did.
It's an energy. The more I was actually, for me, I was actually projecting. This wasn't in the book, but I always said to myself and others, I don't want to be homeless. I don't want to be a bag
Oh,
lady.
yeah.
I
Oh my
always would say,
god.
I'm scared about being a
Yeah.
bag lady.
Oh my
I'd say
gosh.
it all the time. And I actually came a month close to being that bag lady
Oh.
because
Oh
I
my
had got
god,
myself in
Patricia.
so much debt. And the
Yes.
more and I got myself in debt, and the more I hated being in debt, I got myself in more debt.
Yes.
So it's the more you resist, it will persist and it will come towards you. So it's an energy. The more
Mm.
you talk about, the more it comes about.
Yes, exactly. It's so true. It's
And
really
we have to really,
beautifully said.
think about what we're thinking about
No, that's right.
and be cognizant of it.
Yes.
So
Yes.
accountability to me was one of those, was like, okay, you're trying to get out of debt. Don't go spend anything. Check,
Right.
did you spend any money today? Nope. Check. So it's
Exactly.
accountability for myself
Right.
because everybody else has their own lives, right? Now, it would be absolutely wonderful if somebody came in and held me accountable. Yes,
Yeah, I
that'd be
guess.
great too. But
Right.
sometimes they're
Right. Right.
at the time I didn't have any money,
Right.
and I had to learn, like, okay, if that person's not around to hand me that super person girl,
Right.
you're a
Right.
super girl,
Right.
and making my ego feel better. I had to do it myself, and I think it's important that we acknowledge our own accountability. And if somebody else gives us something and says, "Wow, I'm really impressed with you," that's a bonus.
Boy, is that ever. Right?
Rather than waiting for, like, "Don't you see what I did? Do you see how good
Yes.
I am?
Oh
How
my
fast
goodness, yes.
do you
Oh
see
my
all the debt I
goodness.
paid off?"
Oh yeah.
That's just your ego, and we've got to remove ourselves from that,
Gosh, we
So
really do.
accountability to ourselves is really, really important, and checking our own lives off every single day. And it's not
Yes.
that hard once you get used to it.
No, it really isn't. And once you go through the practice, and it is, it's like every day people should take into account your practices that you suggest. And These are little life-changing words that you might suggest
Yeah,
to
it's
others.
just
So,
simple steps because
yeah,
you know what? I hate anything hard.
yeah.
To be
Well, right?
because when
Exactly.
it's hard, what's the first thing you think of?
Right.
"Oh, I can't do this. It's too hard."
Right. Exactly. And
And then you
people, yeah,
don't always do it, right?
it's so true. And
So
we can baby step, baby step into the things every day that makes us feel better about
that's
ourselves. Those
exactly right.
thoughts, in the evening to ponder our day, acknowledgement and forgiveness
Exactly.
and mindset and being accountable and just little tidbits every day of, okay, this now I'm on the right track. I think I'm
Yeah.
growing and
And then
learning and
celebrate it because I celebrate
yes,
every day when I do my list or I did what I wanted to do. I actually get up and do a little jig like, "Woohoo!"
I
You know,
love it. That's
and
great.
because that also changes your energy also,
Sure it does.
you know?
Movement and yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then the fifth, idea that you have the empowerment word is perseverance. And we're just
Yeah.
talking about that. It's just, and that's the hard thing. I think a lot of people, do the 180 thing. I'm going to jump right into it. I'm going to start working
That's the
out. I'm going to
problem.
start
Yeah,
writing
and
my
then they quit.
affirmations.
Yeah, then they quit, and, so
Yeah.
perseverance for me is and here's and what there's one thing I do,
Yeah.
and or I did, and
Yeah.
I have it with me all the time, is to keep me going and
Mm.
moving forward, I wrote out a why. I wrote out why I never wanna be on the floor, broke, broken, drunk, no
Ooh,
money, almost homeless, and I
ooh.
detailed so much that I was, everything about it, all the adjectives and adverbs you could possibly put in it, and if when I ever think I get a complacent,
Mm,
and we all do, right?
mm. Oh
I
yeah.
can pull that little why out, said, "This is why you're gonna take that step
Uh,
forward today,
yeah.
Patricia, because you
Yeah.
don't ever wanna be back there." So that keeps me persevering, even if it's one small step,
Sure,
just
exactly.
moving forward.
Yes, you talk about having the courage to change, and I think exactly what you just said is really an empowering,
Well,
step
the
to
courage and the
write down.
confidence to change,
Yeah, yeah.
and sometimes we have to build
Mm,
that confidence. Confidence isn't built into us when we're born,
mm,
but,
mhm,
we can find it because it is
mm,
there, and we
mhm.
just need to build on it, and then that creates even more courage.
Ah,
Because and I just wanna make this sure people understand that the confidence I ask people to build is not that brash confidence
right.
that's the ego-driven one. The confidence I want is
Yes,
sustainable confidence
yes,
that makes you feel good, that
yes.
makes you feel like you can say no when you want to say no. Those
Oh,
boundaries that you place on yourself to live a full life,
sure.
and having a confidence of feeling good about your day every single day. That to me is a good confidence, and not the
Yes.
confidence like it's steamrolling over somebody type of confidence.
No, exactly. And that's more tending towards the narcissistic, kind of
Exactly.
personality
Well, and
styles
people
who,
think that, they think,
yeah,
"Oh, if I get too much empowerment and too much
yeah.
confidence, then I'm a bitch," you
Right,
know?
right, right. No, not true. I mean, it's true. We all need it. We all need
Yes,
courage. We all need confidence. And I
right.
think that's the main thing, especially going back to what we were talking about with the, social media today and a lot of young people who are comparing themselves, to others' PR campaigns. But I really, I think it's really important to just say, I'm really okay the way I am. I'm, I am,
Exactly. I'm
I
okay
am
right now. Yep.
and we're all a gift because we all have special parts of our souls that we can give to the world no matter what they
Well, we're
are.
all unique. We're like a snowflake.
Yes, we are. Beautifully
Yeah.
said. Guys, in case you just tuned in here, I'm sitting here on the couch. Well, we're on different couches, but nonetheless, here on LA Talk Radio. Seen and Unheard is the book, A Little Girl's Journey from Silence to Empowerment. I'm going to share this with you. Come on,
Thanks.
Michelle. There you go. It's a wonderful book. It's a great read and also has so many, great, I think, therapeutic tools for you to understand how you can be more empowered in your life and just feel good about who you are and be more joyful. Basically, that's what it's all about. And
Yep. Finding your peace.
find your peace. What a beautiful thing to say. I always wanted to ask you, who have been the most influential people to you in your life? How have they helped you?
Honestly, I guess a normal person would say somebody like it's famous or something, but actually it's my sister. who's
Ah,
not even here
aw,
with me anymore.
sure.
She was in the book actually, but
Yes, she was. Yeah.
she's a part of me. She mentored me. She's the one that inspired me. And I think in a
Mm.
lot of ways, I would have probably had even more trouble if I hadn't had her as a fabulous sister. Um,
Aw,
and so I keep her close to me all the time.
yes.
I feel that she's
Beautiful.
always with me.
She is.
I even wear her necklace that I've had probably on my neck for 40 years.
Oh, I love it.
And
I love
so
it.
she's the person. But if I was probably to say somebody that I know, don't really know, would be Louise Hay.
Oh,
Uh,
yes.
I think that she was a wonderful person, and she started late. She did lots of things in her younger life too,
She
but she
did.
also started a lot of things in her, as a mature woman.
Sure. She sure
And I
did.
think that as a mature women, we have so much time left, guys.
Yes. Yes.
That we can do so much for the world because we have all those lessons that we have
Yes.
learned and that we have that wisdom that we've earned. And now it's time to share it
It
with the
really
world
is.
and not feel like you're like, well, I'm 65 or 670 and I can't do these things anymore. Girl, I'm just getting started. So,
There you go. Good for you, Patricia. And speaking about sharing with the world, another really important point that you emphasize is having a purpose and giving to others.
yes,
So one of your passions is the Healing Hoodies mission,
yes,
and you formulated that. You got that all together. Can you
yes.
share a little bit more about that?
Yes. I've always believed first off that words matter.
Mm,
It's
mm,
important what you say to people and
mm.
what they say to you. And I
Sure.
also believed in signs. I believe when sometimes
Oh,
when I look up and I'm like, oh, that's a sign,
yes, yes.
So I wanted to do something that, especially for young people that, especially young women and men too, but young women, to realize to start young that I want them to feel motivated. So by putting, motivational words on the front and back of my hoodies, which everybody loves a good hoodie,
Oh,
right?
I love that.
So,
Yes.
it's like
Yes.
it says, "I can," and then
Oh,
maybe on
yeah.
the back it'll say, "You can too." So, like,
Oh,
in other
love
words,
it.
if someone says, "I can,"
Right.
but they turn around and they see you coming and it says, "You can too." That
Mm.
sometimes could be a sign, or
Yes.
I'm possible, or and you're possible, or anything.
Mm.
So I have several sayings that I have on there.
Oh, I
So it's a
love
kind of
that.
a coming and going, and all the net proceeds go towards helping and motivate women in charities.
Oh,
Uh,
that's beautiful.
so yeah, so all the money goes to that. That's really important to me.
Oh, good for
Um,
you. That's
but yeah,
lovely.
and they're fun to wear, and people
Yeah.
smile, and you may just give a sign to somebody. It says, like maybe they were thinking about doing something, and that you all of a sudden you look up and says, "You can too." Oh my gosh,
Wow.
yes, you can.
Right,
You
right.
don't
Little
know
signs from the universe that someone's wearing
exactly.
that's giving in so many ways. And what a beautiful idea. I love
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
Patricia. That's really awesome. Well, what's the best way that viewers and listeners can find out more about you and your healing hoodies and also all the work you do? And I love the therapeutic techniques you used as well, by the way.
Thank
Oh
you,
no,
thank
that's
you.
amazing.
I'm not a
Um,
I'm not a I'm not a therapist, I mine
well,
is all uh everything that I've learned in the past. That's one thing I always express to people is learn, educate,
yes,
just continually
yes.
learn about things and you learn more about yourself. But how people can get a hold of me is first off, just go to my website, patricialove.com. They'll find out about the healing hoodies. You can buy my book there. You can find out about my coaching. I'm also going to be launching an app here in about a month or two. So
Oh,
more about
great.
that maybe at some point.
Yeah.
And then called Confident You. And then also
Nice.
you can go to Amazon.com or Barnes and Noble to get my book seen and unheard. So yeah,
Ah, that's wonderful. It's a wonderful book, and
thank
I
you.
love the tools that you share, and I am definitely going to use this as a guidebook for
Awesome.
many of
Thank
my
you.
clients,
Thank
many
you.
of my clients, because it really, I always get these requests from people like, "Can you give me a book of encouragement, or tell me, can you talk about other people's stories and share with
Yeah.
me how they overcame,
Yeah.
trauma in their life?" And this is the book, folks. Here it
Well,
is.
thank you very much. Yeah, it can be a
There
little
you
bit
go.
raw here and there, but there are also some fun and good parts too.
Oh yeah, love that Mustang. Love that Mustang.
Yeah, I know, right?
How cool is that? I got one too, and same. You know,
Oh, really?
I was the girl that was driving kids to college and that kind of thing, and very similar parallel experiences you and I, my
Interesting.
dear.
Yeah, but there's a lot of
Yeah.
times there's a lot of parallels I find out. So
Yeah.
that's why we need to be open and support each other and always be there for each other because we want to know the bad parts just as much as the good parts.
So true. Well, thanks so much for being here on the couch. Patricia Love, you're a doll. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
All
you guys
right.
for the opportunity.
Blessings. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining me here. And next week, we're going to find out more about improving your relationships with everybody. And that's working on yourself as well. Dr. Michelle saying bye.
You're listening to On the Couch with Dr. Michelle, right here on LA Talk Radio.